And talking about the advanced asana, to a lot of people, Shirshasana is an advanced asana. It looks impossible to stand on the head. But in our tradition of Sivananda Yoga, Shirshasana is very important. Like we start the asanas with Shirshasana. Like what is the science behind it? What is the logic behind starting your asana practice with Shirshasana?
In the Shivananda tradition, among the 12, 13 postures, which are given very high importance, Shirshasana comes first. That doesn't mean that you learn Shirshasana first. No. In the process of teaching, you may learn this Shirshasana last. That's the learning process. That may take maybe a few weeks. Even when you give a yoga class, yoga course, where Shirshasana is also there, it's not attempted in the day one. All other postures you do as a preparation for headstand. And it will automatically come towards the end, and you'll be able to do it much easier. And also, Shirshasana is not just much physical posture alone. It is sometimes referred to as king of postures, king of asanas. It has got a lots of things to with the Hatha Yoga. The union of yoga, union of Ha and Tha, union of Prana and Apana. All inverted postures are very important, especially to bring the Apana upward from the lower dimension to higher, the lower chakras to higher chakras, that way. So, in the Shivananda sequence, the spinal column is given most importance. Is health. When we say spinal column, it is the physical part. We have to understand the subtle part also. The Sushumna, Ida, Pingala, Nadis, all those things. The spine, what are the movements the spine can do? Bending forward, backward, sideways, twisting, stretching up. And all these things we can do upside down also. And if you look at the Shivananda sequence, all asanas nothing but a practice of these different movements of the spine, including upside down. The moment we use the word spine, often that's what usually we talk to people normally. But in the subtle level, it is Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, Prana and Apana, part of Hatha Yoga. So when you do the also asanas are considered to be more superior form of physical exercise, which directly connects or activates the psychic centers or chakras, the Adhar chakras. From the Hatha Yoga perspective, Kundalini Yoga perspective, we have these Adhara chakras, subtle energy centers, that has to be activated and transcended, not getting stuck there again. So every asana has its own subtle counterpart also. It's a conscious state, a mental state. In between this also pranic state. And all these Kundalini, Prana, Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, chakras, all come in the same Pranamaya Kosha. So every asana is having its own chakras connected to it. That it's activated at the same time, even though we do not know about it sometimes. Initially, that aspect need not be emphasized. Physical perfection, physical asanas, when you keep on doing it, at the same time, these activating the chakras, all these are happening. We don't have to think about it. It is happening automatically. And once you become expert in that asana, you become sensitive to that energy state. You become sensitive to the pranic state, chakra state, all automatically. So it has to come automatically. It is not something to be forced upon in the beginning itself as a point of concentration. So when you do the sequence of Sivananda tradition, it is said that one way of looking at is apart from the movement of the spine, it is gives the total exercise to the whole body. All different parts of the body is taken care. Internal organs, bending forward, backward, standing posture, practice on the feet, practice on the hands, upside down position. So it is a holistic practice, number one. Number two, it takes care of all movements of the spine. And all practices, asanas are done slowly, the non-violent way. Any dynamic is a practice is not following the basic dharma of our culture, ahimsa. More dynamic, more violence, more disturbed state, more blocked state of nadis. Anything which brings a disturbance, physically, mentally, vitally, that's a cause of suffering. And our practice is to remove suffering, to liberate from it. So, when we do asanas, it should take care of that. They have to take care of the vital level also. All asanas are done slowly with the breathing in synchronized way. Slow, non-violent. All practice are done with awareness, concentration. Every asana or breathing is taken as an object of concentration. So a practice of the Sivananda tradition, a practice of 2 hours of asana is also 2 hours of concentration practice, 2 hours of pranayama practice, 2 hours of breathing practice, all put together. 2 hours of pratyahara practice, sense control practice, 2 hours of meditation practice, all put together. And when asanas are done in that sequence, it's a particular way of activating the chakras also. Like in the Shirshasana, it is said it is chakra activates the higher chakras in the head. When it comes to the shoulder stand, it is said it is activates the thyroid or the chakra connected to that. The whole sequence of asanas in the Sivananda tradition is working on the chakras from higher to lower levels, generally. And when we do the final relaxation, where do we start the actual relaxation in the auto suggestion? We start from the feet upward. And it is said, usually said that we always talk about only 7 chakras, starting from the base of the spine above. But there are 7 dimensions below also. There are 14 dimensions, like 14 lokas in the universe. So Sivananda sequence is from starting from the higher level, go low. That's called creation. Creation is going from subtle dimension to the gross dimensions, going downward. And the final relaxation is something where we work from the lower level to higher level. So when you do the Sivananda sequence, hold the postures, and at the end, do the final relaxation, where we do the auto suggestion from the toes to head. It is said it is a practice of a cycle of creation and dissolution. Cosmic cycle is completed here. The sequence is that way. It is said that from the chakra point, that kind of explanations also I have heard. Even when Swamiji was teaching Swami Vishnudevananda, he did not mention about the chakras and everything connected with the asanas. because I feel the knowledge of chakras connected asana should come automatic, not something to be forced upon. First, you create a physical dimension. As you perfect it that, or as you hold it for a long time, it is said, no, 3 hours of practice brings asana jaya, mastery on asana. What is asana jaya? Taking you to the subtle dimension, subtle sensitivity to the vital level, chakra level, mental level, and that conscious state. It will take you there. It is there. When you do the asana in the beginning, still you are there, but you are not sensitive about subtle dimensions. Once you have the mastery of the asana, you have a full knowledge of it, so that you can transcend that easily. So when this kind of practice is done in the same sequence, with the same awareness and the final relaxation, so it is a total holistic practice.
Actually, like in a 2-hour practice, we will move from creation to dissolution, dissolution to creation. And you said so beautifully that 2-hour practice is 2 hours of working on the body, 2 hours of working on the prana, 2 hours of working on the meditation part, 2 hours of pratyahara, everything combined.
It becomes more of meditative practice when one does alone. With the help of the teacher, that guidance is given. That's only initial stages. Later, when you are taught by somebody, your focus is only always on the teacher's voice and the information and that kind of thing. Once you got into that habit, one should do the whole thing by himself or herself, so that it is become a 2 hours of total inner journey.
Beautiful. Swamiji, when you were talking about the nadis, the kundalini, and the hatha yoga terminologies, my next question is related to the kumbhakas, because again, in the 5 pillars of Sivananda Yoga, one of them is proper breathing through pranayama. But it is also said that pranayama should always be done with kumbhakas, like retention of breaths. What is the importance of kumbhaka? Because we, particularly in Shivananda tradition, we do the Nadi Shuddhi pranayama, the Anuloma Viloma pranayama with 4-16-8 or 5-20-10 rhythm of kumbhakas. Even after Kapalabhati, one round of Kapalabhati, we do some amount of kumbhaka. So what is the importance of this retention? What is why Antar Kumbhaka in particular? Why not Bahir Kumbhaka, Bahya Kumbhaka? Retention of breath, retaining the emptiness of breath.
What you see in the Shivananda tradition, in the beginning courses, these are all practice for beginners. Bahir Kumbhaka, retention after exhalation, is more difficult than inner Kumbhaka, Andhra Kumbhaka. So what is difficulty? What's the meaning of difficulty? That's more advanced. We have to grow into that state. Shirshasana is a difficult thing for a person who in the day 1 of the practice. After 1 month, Shirshasana becomes easier one. You won't call it as a difficult posture. Same way, same tone. So Bahir Kumbhaka is there. Such practices are also there. Initially, one sees only the practices in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which Shivananda tradition follows. And there, all those practices are emphasized. And when we breathe, normally when we are breathing, we usually say the physical dimension, your right brain and left brain is activated. From the vital point of view, when we breathe through the left nostril, we see the Ida is activated. When we breathe through the right nostril, it is the Pingala which is getting activated. As long as Ida and Pingala are active, there is breath, inhalation and exhalation. right brain, left brain are there, activated continuously. Life is there. But our purpose of yoga is not to get stuck there in life, to transcend it. That transcending happens when Sushumna gets activated. Sushumna Nadi gets activated. Whenever Kumbhaka happens, Sushumna is working on the Sushumna. So when Hatha Yoga is practiced, when the prana and apana are united, ha and tha, when that united prana is directed towards the Muladhara chakra through the bandhas, then the Muladhara chakra gets activated. Then the starting of Sushumna activation happens. That takes long time. Whenever breath is retained, Kumbhaka practices, mind stops. Ideally, not in the beginning. The initial practice of the Kumbhaka, breath retention, is a forceful stopping of the mind. You may know that when the mind is really, really focused, the breath almost stops. In a very high, good constant state of concentration of the mind, the breath stops. The breath and mind are connected. When the mind stops, breath stops. Kumbhaka happens automatically. Initially, all these practices, pranayama and all these things are forceful, disciplined. So initially, that is practiced to create the samskara. The anulama, vilama, pranayama or nadi shuddhi pranayama. That is for, initially, that's a practice for purifying the nadis. All the nadis, 72,000 nadis. And Ida and Pingala including that also. That purified state of nadis, in that balanced state of flow of prana in the Ida and Pingala, that will only make the Sushumna activated. And when the Sushumna getting activated, then you start the transcendence of the mind itself. Just go into the higher dimension of the practice. Sometimes we may call it Kundalini Yoga. Initially, we do it, the Kumbhaka breath retention happens forcefully. We just hold the breath with the hand. That should lead us to automatic suspension of the breath, Kevala Kumbhaka. It should lead us to. That's a step-by-step process. So Kumbhaka is very important, and also that is in the traditional Sandhya Vandanas, those who use the Gayatri mantra. That is something which beautifully can be coordinated. When you work on the pranic level, nadis purification, and the same thing can be done with the mantra also. When the mantra's vibration will also purify the nadis and activate the chakras. So a pranayama practice which easily can be coordinated with the Gayatri mantra chanting is can be practiced. So that is traditionally done also in the Sandhya Vandanas practices. Yes, it's beautifully can be combined. So mantra chanting happens, pranayama also happens at the same time. So it's a wonderful thing. And Bahir Kumbhaka is more advanced. So in such a practice, when it comes, that becomes easier also.
Right. Actually, that was my next question about Sandhya Vandana, because in Sandhya Vandana, they do the pranayama part. Part of the mantra itself is to do pranayama, where they integrate the mantra with the breath. So before I asked you the question, you answered it already.
Okay.
So wonderful. These points about kumbhakas, about mudras, bandhas, asanas, pranayama, about these concepts, these topics of yoga, we are introduced to these terminologies in a teacher's training course. Before that, in our school education, mostly we don't study these things. So after we finish whatever we are studying in the formal education, when we come for a ashram setup where we take up a yoga teachers training course, there we are introduced to these terminologies, this vocabulary of the Hatha Yoga. So by the end of this 1 month long teachers training course, what is the competence of a person who has completed a 1 month long teachers training course? What is his competence in in working as in the responsibility of a yoga teacher? Because in the ancient times, Swami Shivananda did not do any teachers training course anywhere. Swami Vishnudevananda did not do it anywhere. I'm sure you did not do it anywhere. All these ancient yogis, they studied under a competent teacher, under an acharya for years together to learn something. And at the end of that, so many years of service and so many years of study, they are competent to go and handle a class, to be a representative of the Guruparamparaam. But in today's time, when we have these courses for 1 month long, where does that fit in?
Our teachings of our culture, which were handed down through generations, through competent masters, enlightened masters, they were wonderful in preserving our traditional pure teachings. At the same time, changing wherever necessary in the external parts. Something according to the time, they made the changes, the external. They brought the rules. New smrtis were formed. And they were capable of doing it. They have the right to do it because they became the authorities of that knowledge. And that's where when Swami Shivananda came, the so-called Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga were almost not available to the common public. Two big names who brought these yogic practices to the world, as well as I know, one is Swami Shivananda, one is the Krishnamacharya. They all brought their knowledge made available to the public. They knew that it is needed. It should not be confined to some monasteries or asanas, ashram practices. It has got elements which are possible for practice in the household normal lifestyles. They brought it. But they did not hide the higher part, the spiritual part, which may not be that easy for a common public. So we had to be intelligent enough to choose to this stage of my life what is suitable. If it's not known, there are gurus available. And they modify the practice accordingly. So in our tradition, we see Swami Shivananda brought this knowledge to the world. His disciples brought this knowledge to everywhere around. And nowadays, in the modern times, we always have a complaint, no time. And also, these are the times of package programming. And the same concept of package programming, our Gurudev, Swami Vishnudevananda, also used the same concept. If people cannot come to the ashram and live for 5-10 years and become master of yoga, at least a glimpse of that knowledge can be given. The same age-old Gurukula tradition. Glimpse of it, not all of them. In the same spirit which were there before. That's where this 1 month package yoga programs, Swamiji started, it seems, first time. Swami Vishnudevananda. Because there's no time. And even when Swami started, he had the teacher's training course for 8 weeks. Then he made it to 6 weeks. Then it got into 4 weeks, more compressed. Yeah, now people are asking, can I do yoga teachers training course in 2 sessions, 2 weeks first and 2 weeks later?
Right.
But once you know, have gone through that 1 month programming, somebody may laugh at it. If people ask, can I do in 2 weeks? When you come back later for the second 2 weeks, your body immune system is not in that purified state.
Correct.
We know that once you go through, you know it. Also, yoga teachers training course, as far as I know, it's a marketing name. You need market. That's the modern thinking. Okay, nobody becomes a yoga teacher in 1 month. I did not become a yoga teacher in 1 month. I went through the same kind of practice. But that just gave me maybe a courage, some basic tools to start. When I started teaching yoga, I don't start with the practice of mudras and bandhas. That's teaching. No, I don't start with it. I start with the basic breathing practices, basic asana practices. Afterwards, when your growth in your yoga starts by sharing the knowledge. We never say yoga teacher is a teacher. Yoga teacher is someone who shares the knowledge for his or her own growth. That's only starting point. That's only starting point. When I was I have done the yoga teachers training course. Then afterwards, okay, nobody gave me a yoga class. My own teacher did not give me a yoga class. Then my teacher said, okay, come and assist the class. He was teaching and I went there to assist, meaning to learn by observing, pretending to be assisting and helping. That gave me such an immense courage and depth of knowledge by observing the class and assisting the class. And after some time, after 1 or 2, 3 months of observing, I was given an advanced class, meaning if I teach, even if I make a mistake of teaching, the students won't make a mistake because they know it. Afterwards only, I was told, okay, give a complete beginner level classes. Complete a new cover comes, okay, teach. So the yoga teachers training course is the name. I think it's a good marketing name, number 1. Number 2 is which gives the tool for our own inner journey at the same time to teach others also. So that is how now it is totally accepted all over the world, in the yoga world also, that it's a very effective way of communicating. Of course, yoga learning did not end with 1 month of training. There's advanced, there's more advanced step-by-step process like that is there. Yeah.
What we experience in the 1 month or 2 months long course is just a glimpse. Only a glimpse. So this is I think this is a very good takeaway for a lot of our viewers who are yoga teachers themselves, that they should, it's good you realize that whatever you have experienced is only a glimpse, and go for the full meal. Go for the long-term learning practice, long-term learning process in an ashram or under a competent teacher. So
also that learning which you get through the yoga teacher training course, not just information knowledge, it's experiential knowledge. That purification, you go into that transformation by yourself. That gives you a confidence to give that knowledge to others. If I can go through this, and if I get to that in a peaceful, more healthy state, why I should not share with others? So that is the spirit of that yoga teaching. Unfortunately, it has become completely a big commercial money-making business. That is other aspect of it.
But how did you get into this whole world of Yoga Vedanta, Swamiji? How did it all start for you?
One usually, for everything we have one word answer. Karma of every individual. How that karma evolved, that's what the question might be. And every individual, if you are meant to be something, you'll be born and brought up in that kind of atmosphere. That kind of, if you look at the life of Swami Shivananda, okay, he was born in such a Brahmin family and got that training at that time, and automatically everything gets exposed. Automatically things come in the right place. So for myself, I had the blessing of learning asana pranayama from my father and his yoga teacher. And my father's yoga teacher wants asanas to be demonstrated in the school where I was studying. So they needed somebody to demonstrate. So I was the chosen one among my brothers. And they trained me. There was no purpose of, okay, let me teach this boy yoga. No, they want for demonstration purpose. So that is how my training started. I used to see my father doing asana practice. So once this yoga demonstration happened in the school where I was studying, of course, nobody taught me afterwards. But I practiced myself, not knowing what it is for. Of course, in the family get-togethers, if you do asanas, it's a big showing off. I can stand on the head, others cannot stand on the head. See, if I look back, that's what happened. When I moved to the college life, this practice helped me from the health point of view. I used to get sick. Even though I was born and brought up in a completely village atmosphere, where physically we were very active. When I moved to the city in Trivandrum for college studies, I did not have to do anything physically. So there, I start getting sick. So when I get sick, I do these asanas. 1 or 2 weeks, I do asanas, and next 1 month, I can be lazy. So either I did not leave the asana practice, or asanas did not leave me. That's what my way of thinking when I look back, because I needed it for my health so that I can avoid pills or going to hospitals. So that kept me. So since it is was an important necessity for my life, normal life, of course, spirituals, other sides of a little bit of daily satsangs and everything was there, part of my family, Purvashram family, it was there. That was there. I have that kind of inquiries also. During that college days, that inquiry from that point took me to some of the class of Swami Chinmayanji Maharaj. And I used to visit once in a while Ramakrishna Mission Ashram rarely. Because in the college days, that was not there. I did not have any so-called physical spiritual community around me, which was there in my village. There was a nearby an ashram there of Narayana Sri Narayana Guru. We used to go there almost a few 3-4 times a week, close by. So later I was missing that. So asana practice never left me because of my health. And then this kind of samskara created from younger days took me to ashrams of Swami Chinmayanji and Ramakrishna Ashram and later to the Sivananda also. That's where the yoga practice is taught. Since it is necessary for my health, I thought I had learned it by knowing properly, by knowing what it is. Otherwise, I was doing only asanas. I did not even know pranayama. Asanas and a good relaxation I used to do. And breathing also with the asanas. As a Kapalabhati, I did not know. And Lomila Pranayama, I did not know. So for learning properly, when the time came, I approached there was a yoga center of the Swami Shivananda in the Trivandrum city. I went there to inquire. And that day, there was a new course was starting. It was just 2 to 3 kilometers away from my home at that time.
When
So
was this?
That was in 1986, long ago. And I went to inquire. And then the staff said, no, today we are starting a course, come and join. I said, I just came from home without even having any money in my hand because it's a walkable distance. I did not need money in my hand. I said, I don't bring any money to pay. He said, no, just you join, you pay later. So I just went to inquire and then I was pulled in. So that is how the yoga, as a hatha yoga asana practice, that practice started. Then immediately in a few months, there was the yoga teachers training was happening in the Nayardam Shivananda Ashram. And also at the same time, that was first time in 1987, the advanced teachers training course also started in India. So I could do it both in 2 months, 2.5 months. And then I came back to the same center where I studied the beginner level yoga to get training in teaching. Then it took 1 or 2 months for training, how to become a teacher. And then I was given classes. So that's how the yoga came in my life.
Wonderful. Swamiji, now how is everything going through Sivananda Yoga Vidya Peetham? What are the programs, courses which you are conducting now? Online world also, online classes regarding that.
When I was a part of the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta centers, about 23 years, I had the blessing of conducting the yoga teachers training course, advanced teachers training course, the yoga vacations, the sadhana intensives, advanced intensive practices, and also running the administration, building up the ashrams. So all it is a total life that way in the ashram. Once I left, I continued to do the same thing in another banner, Sivananda Yoga Vidya Peetham. Same thing, teaching same. For a few years, it started in 2010. So far, we don't own a physical location. So we always did the courses in rented places. And the last 2 years, due to the COVID,
Right.
yeah, it is ashram is closed, or the ashram where we were, that had to be closed. And then to keep in touch with the people, students, we are running the online, just a basic yoga classes to those who know yoga. I'm not doing any beginner level yoga. I think for me to teach yoga, I need the person physically close by. distant teaching of asana practice, I'm not confident about. That's what I would say. Many people are doing it, let them do. But because asana teaching, yoga teaching is not just asana teaching. You have to know the whole personality to impart the knowledge better way. Anyway, that was my justification. Not for going this distant learning, especially the beginner level. So I teach only asana practices, basic asana practices, pranayama practices through the online media.
Right.
Those who have done the yoga before, so they can understand what it is. Otherwise, in our ashram, apart from this teachers training course, advanced teachers training course, sadhana intensives, we had yoga retreats. Also, we started the 1 month intense training on Yoga Sutra. And we had planned another month Sankhya Darshana intensive also, Sankhya Darshana. But that could not happen because then COVID came. So like that, we wanted to slowly, whatever we have learned, we want to more expand it. In the teachers training course, we have the Bhagavad Gita, one of the Vedantic texts. So we want to go into that Vedantic level also. But going to Vedanta is through the yoga. Yoga Vedanta is the best combination. If you use the word Jnana Yoga for Vedanta, the whole thing is yoga. And it has got, of course, a step-by-step process. Yoga as a stepping stone towards Vedantic knowledge. Yoga is the practice for the basic inner purity, Antakarana Shuddhi, to be able to go through the Sravana Manana and Nidhyasana of the Vedanta practice. So that also should be there. And it all can be done only in a Gurukula method, where people need to have a residential facility. Distant teaching may not be the best possible way to impart the knowledge correctly, to make the desired changes in the people, in the aspirants. So we have such course also in mind, teaching of Yoga Upanishads, teaching of Vedantic Upanishad, basic practice like that, and also going into even the sadhana intensive, which is usually done in 2 weeks. So we have actually expanded to make it 4 weeks. So that when people usually come back for sadhana intensive, they are not really ready for the advanced practices. So that 2-week practices, I added 1 week before as a preparation practice. Then another week later at the end, slowly tapering it off. Like that kind, and so that we have more time also. So in the advanced teachers training course, we learned Yoga Sutra. Only we just touch, as you have seen, is only a glimpse of it. And so we have the Yoga Sutra intensive 1 month fully with everyday lectures on Yoga Sutra, sutra by sutra, go into depth of it. So that we had a few times. But for learning Yoga Sutra, we need the knowledge of Sankhya Darshana. In the Yoga Sutra course, we had the first week on Sankhya Darshana. But that's not enough. So we made a 1 month long course, but that could not happen because of the COVID. And sadhana intensive also, when we do this advanced pranayamas as per the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, also there are other Hatha Yoga texts also, like Kheranda Samhita, Shiva Samhita, like that kind of thing. So we need, we planning to have another course, sadhana intensive, it's a level 2, that kind of, where all these texts and plus the practice, advanced practices will be continued. So like that, such kind of things are there in our mind. with all other Swamis who are with me. And we may have such course also in future. Even we are thinking of having a maybe a course for of 1.5 years residential camps, where all these things are systematically sequentially put, so that one can go into foundation of our Sanatana Dharma through the Yoga Vedanta, in which we are also under some therapies, yoga therapy, a science which is developing in its stages, to have a glimpse of how asanas pranayama can be used for healing basic ailments, if that's a possibility. So that is, we are looking into hormone yoga therapy we used to do, and reflexology, and acupuncture, acupressure. This is all science which came out of our yogi practices, specifically made for the so-called healing. There's nothing wrong in attempting that. So that also we had. So all put together, so we have also on naturopathy, and also basic Ayurvedic lifestyle one has to know. So all these sciences put together, we are on the process of making a long-term course where people can come to these packages, also maybe stay for the whole time, like that.
I really hope this COVID pandemic ends very quick, and all these wonderful courses come live, and it really helps hundreds of people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would be definitely be attending some of those workshops. So it's a truly wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. Any last message which you want to give to some sadhakas and spiritual practitioners?
There's no any new message. All messages have been given by our masters. And Swami Sivananda said, an ounce of practice is better than tons of theory. I think that summarizes all the teachings. He also said that be good, do good.
Simple.
So whatever stage of life one is in, accordingly do the best in that situation. That only will exhaust our karma. And that has to be done. All the yoga practice will be done with the karma yoga spirit. Samatvam and nimitta bhavanas. Samarpana buddhi and prasada buddhi. Even asana pranayama practices, so-called hatha yogi practice, if it's not done with these inner attitudes, that is become just a normal, simple practices, but they don't become a liberating practice. It's very important that in yogi practice also bring the yamas and niyamas, those values in a big way. So yamas, of course, and niyamas, not only values for a practice in the yoga mat. No, that's a practice for the whole 24 hours of life. So that should be always, we should get reminded, and then do the asana pranayama practice plus our daily life things also. That's very important. And wherever we are placed in our life at the moment, that's the best place we are supposed to be. And we had to play our life of drama. That background. All right.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. Thank you for accepting this questionnaire program. I'm sure this really helps lots and lots of people who are young yoga teachers who have entered into the field of yoga teaching and the field of spirituality. I'm sure it really helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.